On tonight's summary of the Israel-Hamas War, day 189, al-Ahbar reports that Hamas has rejected the latest proposal in the hostage negotiations, stating that it is pointless to debate if the movement's demands are not met. The IDF's operation in the central camps of the Gaza Strip continues. The operations officer of Hamas's Jabalia battalions reportedly assassinated. The first humanitarian aid trucks enter the northern parts of the Gaza Strip directly through Israel. Binyamin Achimeir, a 14-year-old Israeli settler, is missing in the West Bank. Substantial searches are being conducted and sieges imposed on Palestinian villages in the area. One Palestinian has been killed in confrontations. The region braces for Iran's retaliation. The U.S. has stated that it will attempt to intercept Iranian launches. Israel has approved attack plans in Iran. Hello everyone. I'm Alon Burstein, visiting assistant professor in the Department of Political Science and Israel Institute fellow at the University of California, Irvine, here bringing you the summary of the last 24 hours of the Israel-Hamas War. It is currently the evening of April 12th, 2024 in the United States, the morning of April 13th, 2024 in the Middle East. Starting with the hostage situation, al-Ahbar, which is a Hezbollah-affiliated newspaper in Lebanon, quoted Hamas officials today as stating that the movement has given its answer to the negotiators with regards to a hostage deal, stating that there will be no moving forward with the deal unless Hamas's demands are met. The newspaper quoted Hamas sources as stating, and I quote, "The Hamas leadership informed negotiators that Hamas is not interested in more debate about a deal as long as there is no movement on Hamas's demands to end the war and secure an IDF withdrawal from the Gaza Strip. If that is in fact the case, that means that Hamas has officially rejected the latest proposal, and right now negotiations are breaking down. I will say, however, that this report only appeared in al-Ahbar. It was not confirmed anywhere else, nor has it been officially stated by the negotiators. Al-Ahbar does have a lot of good sources within Hamas, and their reports about Hamas are often quite accurate. However, again, while I bring that because it was in al-Ahbar and they are quite accurate, it has not been confirmed anywhere else. We will find out more about this likely tomorrow. Moving on to the Gaza Strip, there was a barrage of 8 rockets that were fired from the Gaza Strip targeting the southern parts of Israel today. These targeted primarily the areas of Sderot, and there were several interceptions, and there were other launches towards the areas of Ivim and Nir Am. The Al-Quds brigades of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad claimed responsibility for this barrage. In the last several barrages, they have claimed responsibility primarily from attacks that happened from the northern parts of the Gaza Strip to the areas of Sderot. Regarding the fighting in the Gaza Strip, the northern parts of the Gaza Strip, Al Jazeera reported that there was a major bombing that was carried out in the Darj Tufah region of Gaza City, stating that 28 people were killed in a targeted house. There was no information given by the IDF or Al Jazeera regarding what was the specific target of this bombing, nor was it confirmed who are the identities of those who were killed, if this was an assassination, or what specifically occurred in that area. In addition to this, after I speculated yesterday that the assassination of Radwan, the Hamas police chief in Jabalia refugee camp, might be associated with the IDF's emphasis on targeting those involved in hijacking humanitarian aid in the Gaza Strip, today the IDF confirmed this. In a statement that the IDF put out about that assassination, they stated that in addition to Radwan's role as police chief in Jabalia refugee camp, he was also an operative of the Al-Qassam brigades and was very involved in guiding terror activities in the northern parts of the Gaza Strip, adding, his assassination damages Hamas's capabilities to target and take over humanitarian aid in Jabalia refugee camp. In addition to this, there was another assassination that was reported today. Hamid Ahmed, one of the key figures in Hamas's Jabalia battalions, was assassinated. Ahmed was the operations officer of Hamas's internal security in the region, and his assassination is likely to cripple Hamas's attempt to rebuild a lot of its battalions in the northern parts of the Gaza Strip. In the central parts of the Gaza Strip, the IDF is continuing its operation that it launched yesterday in the central camps, specifically focusing on the outskirts of al-Nuseirat refugee camps. The IDF reported carrying out a raid in the Ibrahim el-Makadme school, locating major explosive charges that were hidden in different classrooms and in the schoolyard. In addition to this, there were several gun battles that were reported throughout the central parts of the Gaza Strip. I remind everyone that the IDF has stated that this is not going to be a big operation, that it is only meant to last a few days, that the IDF is attempting to expand the corridors that it dominates between the northern parts of the Gaza Strip and the southern parts of the Gaza Strip. In Han Yunis and in Rafah, there were no specific reports in the last 24 hours. The IDF has pulled its forces out of Han Yunis. There are no specific raids that are going on there, at least as is reported. Other news related to the Gaza Strip. The IDF dropped thousands of leaflets in the last 24 hours in the Tel-Sultan refugee camp in the northern parts of Rafah, showing pictures of 35 of the hostages that are held in the Gaza Strip. The leaflet reads, Look around you, they may be right next to you. If you want to protect your families and ensure your future, do not hesitate to supply us with information about the hostages and who is holding them. This is a common practice that the IDF has done when people have been kidnapped previously as well as in the current war. The IDF has dropped leaflets encouraging people to anonymously report where they might be held or what is happening. There's been no information that anyone has ever done this on the one hand. On the other hand, the IDF does not disclose its intelligence sources. It is possible that some of the rescue operations that were attempted and those that were successful may be as a result of these tips. Again, right now, all we know is that those leaflets were dropped. There was no information given also why those specific 35 pictures were included in the leaflets. If this is also based on intelligence that they may be held in apartments in Rafah or not, again, that is speculation at this time. Regarding casualties, no IDF soldiers reported killed in the Gaza Strip in the last 24 hours. This leaves the total number of IDF soldiers killed in the Gaza Strip since the invasion began, 260. One IDF soldier was reported injured in the Gaza Strip in the last 24 hours, bringing the total number of IDF soldiers injured in the Gaza Strip since the invasion began to 1,561. The Palestinian Health Ministry in the Gaza Strip is reporting that 89 Palestinians were killed in the Gaza Strip in the last 24 hours, bringing the total number of Palestinians killed in the Gaza Strip since the war began to 33,634. 76,214 Palestinians are reported injured in the Gaza Strip since the war began. And I remind everyone that according to estimates, there are still several thousand that are buried under the rubble and are presumed dead. Moving on to the humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip. The first humanitarian aid trucks entered the Gaza Strip directly into the northern parts of the Gaza Strip since the war began. The trucks were inspected in the Kerem Shalom crossing before crossing into the northern parts of the Gaza Strip directly from Israel. According to what was reported, Israel is opening this new northern crossing, not refurbishing the Erez crossing, but actually starting a new crossing in the Zikim area. This is coming after the killing of the workers of the World Central Kitchens that happened last week, and the monumental pressure that was leveled on Israel, specifically by the United States, as well as other countries, to open up more crossings and allow aid to flow directly into the northern parts of the Strip. A total of 147 trucks were reportedly inspected and entered the Gaza Strip in the last 24 hours, and the IDF reported that 208 trucks distributed aid within the Gaza Strip, adding that 300 trucks are still awaiting pickup in the Gaza side of the Kerem Shalom crossing. In addition to this, the IDF announced a humanitarian pause today in the El Mahata region of Han Yunis, reportedly in order to allow the crossing of an aid convoy into the area. In addition to this, there was a report today that a UNICEF convoy came under fire as it was attempting to reach the northern parts of the Gaza Strip. No details were given with regards to casualties or the circumstances, or specifically where this happened, if it was already in the northern parts of the Gaza Strip or not. Likely this would have been in the central parts of the Gaza Strip where the fighting is currently happening. However, again, that is also speculation. Moving on to the West Bank, Binyamin Achimeir, a 14-year-old Israeli from the unauthorized settlement Malachei Shalom in the West Bank, has been missing since Friday morning. According to reports, he went out to herd sheep at 6 in the morning and never returned, whereas some of the sheep and the herd did return. Extensive searches are being conducted in the West Bank, and a siege has been imposed on the nearby Palestinian villages of Duma and El Muel. The IDF is carrying out extensive searches in the area, but has stated that there is no indication thus far of kidnapping or murder, stating that it is possible that he fell into a hole or got lost or injured somewhere, but right now those searches are continuing. During the IDF search of El Muel village, Israeli settlers, who could be seen in some of the photographs accompanying IDF soldiers, reportedly left the IDF soldiers and joined other settlers and carried out a raid on the village. The raid included torching Palestinian homes and cars. According to reports, 7 Palestinian homes were torched and 20 to 30 cars were torched as well. This resulted in confrontations with the Palestinians. Stones and Molotov cocktails were thrown between the sides. The casualties include 1 Palestinian who was reported killed, 25-year-old Jihad Abu Alia, as well as 25 Palestinians injured. 2 Israeli settlers were reported injured, one of them was shot in the leg, and 3 IDF soldiers reportedly lately injured from the stone throwing. In addition to this, there's substantial IDF activity that is being reported in the Oja village and more broadly in the Jordan Valley. There have been several attacks that took place in the Jordan Valley in the last weeks, and today it was reported that the IDF has set up checkpoints in different areas in the valley where checkpoints have never been erected, and where in general there's been a lot less IDF presence in the last years. The IDF is reportedly trying to stamp out this rising wave of violence in order to stop this area that, again, has been relatively calm in the last years from becoming like other areas in the West Bank where there are repeated attacks against Israelis in the region. In addition to this, there were several prominent figures in the al-Qassam brigades of the West Bank that were killed in the last 24 hours. These include Muhammad Omar Darama. He's the head of Hamas's terror activities in the Tubas region. According to reports, Darama was killed after he fired at IDF forces from his car and tried to run over some of the soldiers. In addition, in an IDF raid in the al-Farah region, Muhammad Rasul, who's another prominent figure in al-Qassam activities, was also killed. He was reportedly on the most wanted lists of the IDF and the Palestinian Authority for several years. And in addition to him, Muhammad Issam Shamwai, who is another known figure of the al-Qassam brigades, was also killed in al-Farah refugee camp. In addition to all these, 5 Palestinians were also reported arrested in different IDF activities throughout the West Bank. Moving on to the northern parts of Israel, southern parts of Lebanon, after close to 48 hours of relative calm and almost no rockets that were launched today, there were substantial escalations between the sides. There were consecutive barrages of rockets that were fired by Hezbollah targeting the northern parts of Israel. These included barrages targeting the areas of Margliot, Misgav Am. A barrage of over 40 rockets was fired towards the upper Galilee, including the areas of Ramot Naftali, Beit Hillel, Dafnak, Kfar Yuval, Goshrim, Kibbutz Dan, Snir, and Rajar. There were also reportedly 2 suicide drones that were sent by Hezbollah, and they were intercepted. Hezbollah also claimed 6 border incidents throughout the day. These usually refer to different shooting attacks that occurred either targeting IDF outposts or targeting different IDF activity along the border. Regarding IDF activity, the IDF reported that warplanes targeted the Hezbollah structures in the areas of Itash Ab and Ataiba. There were also reportedly artillery fire targeting the different launching sites throughout the day. Al-Miyadin also reported IDF attacks in the areas of Hanin, and artillery fire was also reported in the Hula village. Moving on to the regional developments, the entire region is bracing for Iran's expected retaliation to the attack that was carried out against its consulate in Damascus, targeting the most senior figure of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards in the area that occurred on April 1st. Leading up to this, President Biden today was asked at a press conference if he has a message for Iran, and simply stated, "Don't," and walked off. This is reminiscent of how Biden warned Hezbollah not to join the war in the first days after October 7th, and his threats were pretty much heeded, and Hezbollah did not join the war. In addition to this, U.S. sources told Al Jazeera today that Iran's movements in the region are being watched, specifically noting mobilization of a large number of drones that Iran is preparing. New York Times quoted sources in the United States and in Iran, estimating that Iran's retaliation is going to include attacks against a wide range of targets in Israel in the coming days. One of the Iranian sources, who spoke anonymously but was described as a strategist for the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, stated that Iran is unlikely to attack U.S. bases and forces in the Middle East, since Iran would like to take advantage of the growing rift between Israel and the United States, rather than uniting the countries by both of them being attacked by Iran. Throughout the day, different news sites estimated that Iran's retaliation is going to include the simultaneous firing of over 100 missiles and drones targeting different areas of Israel. Different news sites tried to estimate if the retaliation is going to come directly from Iran or one of Iran's affiliated militias. Right now, no one really knows what Iran is planning. In addition to this, in Israel, there is continued bracing for the escalation. The military is on the highest level of alert, and Israel's war cabinet met today for over 3 hours to discuss the various developments. Government ministries have been instructed to ensure emergency control and situation rooms are staffed and prepared. Hospitals are reportedly also on alert. It was also publicized today that the IDF, along with the Mossad, have approved a series of targets that will be attacked in Iran in Israel's retaliation should Iran actually carry out the retaliation against Israel itself rather than through one of its militias. Related to this, the IDF Chief of Staff, Herzl Levy, continued his meetings with the different wings of the military and also had an extensive meeting and a joint briefing with the U.S. General Michael Kurilla, the commander of the U.S. Central Command in the region. Hours later, U.S. officials were quoted in CNN stating that if there are launches towards Israel, the United States is going to try to intercept them, adding that the U.S. administration has also been pressuring Israel to not escalate the situation further by retaliating against Iran, i.e. trying to pressure Israel that if Iran retaliates, to let the escalation end there, rather than carrying out its own retaliation and the situation spiraling. Amidst this, the Washington Post also reported today that the U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin complained to Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant about the fact that Israel did not inform the U.S. prior to the consulate attack that was carried out in Damascus. Again, this comes amidst the U.S. trying to tell Israel, and don't spiral the situation further. There's apparently some disgruntlement within the United States that Israel carried out that attack, and now that the region is on the brink of all-out war. Related to the region bracing for this, there were several different countries that issued travel warnings to its citizens, throughout the Middle East. These include Germany, that warned its citizens to leave Iran, stating that the rapidly escalating situation may deteriorate and that citizens may not be able to leave the country. The United Kingdom also issued travel warnings to Israel, and Poland and France also issued travel warnings to Israel and Lebanon. India issued travel warnings to its citizens, telling them to leave Israel and Iran. Some political developments from the last 24 hours. The United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia all announced new sanctions that were going to be imposed on 4 Hamas members, including the Al-Qassam spokesperson Abu Ubaidah. In the announcement, it was stated that Abu Ubaidah is the person in charge of the entire cyber operation of the Al-Qassam brigades, and these new sanctions are now added to the other sanctions that were already imposed on different Hamas leaders. Amidst this, the EU also added the Al-Qassam brigades and the Al-Quds brigades to the sanction lists of the EU today, citing the sexual crimes that were committed on October 7th as the reason for this. Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad are already defined as terror organizations and are on sanction lists. However, the fact that Al-Qassam brigades, Al-Quds brigades, and the Nuhba force are all now specifically on the sanction lists as well allows for more sanctions to be imposed on any member who might be affiliated with those different outfits by the EU. Again, summarizing, right now, the region is very braced for Iran's retaliation. According to different speculations, that retaliation may occur even this weekend. If it does, I'll try to put out special videos depending on when they occur. Right now, everyone is waiting to see if Iran is going to retaliate itself, or if it is going to activate its militias to retaliate, what is going to be the scope of that retaliation, and most importantly, if it is going to be something that then Israel retaliates against Iran directly, which will again lead us into a spiral that may take the war into an entirely different trajectory. If you find these reports important, please do remember to hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications if you want to know when reports come out. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I try to answer all of them. That is my report for the last 24 hours. I'll be back tomorrow.